Saudi Cup, and welcome to another episode here for the Fun Report, Mindful Media and Communication. And today we're talking about social media owner versus country. We're talking about Elon Musk versus Brazil. And spoiler, I don't think either of them is the good guy here in this case, but let's break it all down. Let's see what is this all about, because it's kicked off like a week ago or so when Brazil banned Twitter, X, and of course Elon Musk had something to say about it. So I figured it's interesting to look at, like, again, as we always do, the media point of view, the media and communication theories point of view, not my personal point of view, not trying to make any point from my POV, trying to analyze what is happening, okay? And again, I find it very interesting that, like, an influential tech figure, or just an influential figure such as Elon Musk, of course, goes to war with an entire country. So let's dive into that standoff that we have here. Not a Mexican one. Looking at the broader role of maybe global media giants, social media, digital sovereignty, state power maybe even. And this, as I just said, through the lens of media theory. So let's dive right into it. So first, let me set the scene a little bit, right? Brazil has become like a very big market for Twitter X, right? And because like Brazil is one of the countries where X was really popular, lots of users been using it. But the relations, of course, as you might have heard, have soured as Brazil's Supreme Court under the justice, and I wrote it down, Alexandre de Moraes, has ordered restrictions on X for failing to comply with like local regulations regarding content moderation and legal representation and the like, okay? And the reason behind that is that Brazil has been grappling with lots of online disinformation, according to them, which is often, they say, amplified through platforms like X. Now, that statement per se might not be surprising. I think we see this in every country that disinformation is happening. X as a very open space for discourse, if you want to say it in a positive way, of course, lends itself to amplifying any kind of message, be that real news, fake news, and the like. Elon Musk, of course, was quite defiant when it came to that. He refused to fully cooperate with the Brazil government in this case, and even apparently threatened to seize Brazilian assets in retaliation, which is rather interesting. Then this escalated into like this standoff that we have, and raised questions about, once again, free speech, right? What is free speech? Like, what about corporate governance? How much should a country intervene? The power of nations to regulate global tech. Should nations be in charge and say, hey, I know you're a global tech company, but not in our country. Like, what's the ideal solution here is the question. And, well, let's figure it out. So the first theory I want to throw at you in this case is one that might even give us a few little answers, probably though raises more questions, to be honest. We call this in media studies the media imperialism theory. You might be familiar with imperialism per se, right? Like back in the day, colonization and so on, countries went into other countries, waged war, and then imperialized them, right? Okay, fine. Not a fan, obviously. Then we have cultural imperialism, where then different cultures from specific countries would be adopted by other countries, and hence that culture would become part of that new country. Like, for example, I live in Thailand. We are, of course, exposed to lots of Hollywood movies, for example, lots of American, US pop music and the like. So this then is cultural imperialism. Also, fast food, Starbucks, McDonald's, it's all here too, right? And so we're getting used to it. It's become part of our daily life. So this is also a form of cultural imperialism. Now, media imperialism. Let's break it down a little bit, okay? So this theory suggests that global media giants, and X clearly still one of them, and they're oftentimes, obviously headquartered in the West, they impose their values and control over local media landscapes, especially in developing countries. In this case, it would be Elon Musk, the new media imperialist, if you will, and he might want to use his platform to, allegedly, yeah, so I'm just trying to make the point, to override national interests, even in a country as large as and as influential as Brazil. Because Brazil, if you look at it, very, 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 very big country. So now there are 2 points of view to that, right? Or like 1 point, several points of view, but one example that I'm making, so stick with me. So Brazil and its efforts to block X could be seen as like an attempt to reclaim the sovereignty, right? Over the Brazilian digital space. Like, hey, Elon Musk, you're setting like all your frameworks here, you operate the way you want, but I mean, it's our country, we're in charge, so let's take back sovereignty, yeah? So they're trying to resist the imposition of, in this case, this foreign controlled platform. That would be the 1 point of view. We will have more points of view as we move on, so stick with me. Another example could be like Facebook's dominance, for example, in countries where there's like less strict regulations. Because this is like, it's like a classic example in all literature as a go-to example for media imperialism. It's always like Facebook here in Thailand or in neighboring countries like in Myanmar, big deal, for example. So X under Elon Musk now might repeat similar patterns in Brazil, but in this case with a way more direct conflict. Right? So that's media imperialism. The second theory I would like to discuss with you for just a second is one that we discussed many a times. It's the agenda setting theory. And that we already discussed it. This is quite a useful framework in the podcast, as it deals with how media platforms influence public perception by focusing attention on specific issues. So this theory suggests that media platforms do not tell us what to think exactly. They don't say, hey, follow this, this is the only way. No, but they tell us what to think about by focusing on certain issues, repeating those issues, repeating those talking points. And that's what gets you to think about it in a similar way. So that's agenda setting theory. And Musk's version of X is all about free speech, like free speech absolutism even, okay? And that's this repeated talking point that he has over and over again ever since he bought Twitter, rebranded to X, and so on. It's like all about free speech, free speech, free speech. And that contrasts with Brazil's need to regulate online discourse to prevent the spread of disinformation. Now, I understand that the way I say it is like it's how the government would say it, but that's I just repeat the words that the government is using. Okay, I'm not saying I agree with censorship. I'm not. I'm saying this is how the government phrases it, just to highlight those talking points that we have on Elon Musk's side. Elon Musk's agenda being free speech over everything, and Brazil saying, yeah, we have to fight disinformation, right? If you wanna be harsh about it or cynical, you would say the free speech thing is like you're okay with disinformation, you're okay with fake news, you're okay with hate speech, and fight disinformation could be equal to censorship, for example, right? So there are different angles to look at it, obviously. In this scenario right now, Brazil, right, by trying to ban X, is trying to control the narrative by regulating online platforms, right? While, of course, Elon Musk, once again, uses X to further his agenda of less government control and more open expression. So see, I try to use positive points of view for each side. And we can look at both parties, right? We can look at how both parties, Brazilian government, X, are setting agendas for the public debate, right? They both try to make their talking point as clear as possible to get the support of the public. Musk's narrative, once again, around free speech versus what he says then would be government censorship, while Brazil focuses on public safety versus disinformation. That's so two different points of view of the same issue, which clearly and actually awesomely shows agenda setting at work. It's the same issue, different agendas, different points of views, trying to get the public on board with it. Okay, great example of the agenda setting theory. One more that I want to discuss with you because it fits so well here, and it's one that we discussed a lot too already, is the public sphere theory, right? Our friend, Mr. Habermas. And we talked about it many times, so I just go right into like how it fits in here, right? So the public sphere offers insights into like this conflict in particular, because according to the theory, it suggests how and where citizens come together to discuss and influence political action. So Elon Musk has turned X into a global public sphere. Twitter was a public sphere too, but now even more so, based on you can say whatever you want, right? But the thing is, of course, it's a public sphere, but it's a sphere that Elon Musk has control over. So it's kind of like a concentration of power. And this concentration of power in a single platform kind of runs counter to the public sphere theory in its ideal form, because in its ideal form, it talks about a diverse and democratic space for public discourse. So in its ideal form, the public sphere says, the public sphere is diverse and democratic, so everybody has equal access, which of course, and can discuss equal talking points, which of course is not the case, because Elon Musk is in charge and pushes what he thinks is right and drowns out what he thinks is wrong. Let's not forget Brazil, though, of course, because in this example, in Brazil, X is like one of the main platforms for political discourse. However, when the platform's policies, or maybe lack thereof, are controlled by a foreign entity like Elon Musk, this undermines this democratic potential of the public sphere in a country like Brazil, where political polarization is incredibly high already. So you see the issue we're running into, right? Again, I'm not saying Elon Musk is wrong or right. I'm just trying to show like the issues we're running into here. Okay. I think one thing we can agree on is that if in Brazil there's one less open platform to have actual discussions, that's not a good thing. Now, whether or not it's a good thing that Elon Musk has so much power and tries to influence foreign countries and so on, different debate. Probably also not. But again, I'm not hating on Elon Musk right now. I'm trying to make points for each side so that we understand what is happening and why this standoff is a thing, okay? If you look at now the bigger picture a little bit more, right? If you're taking a step back and try just to look at, hey, not just from the point of view of Elon Musk, I'm an Elon Musk fan or I'm a Brazil fan. So the bigger picture, and at the heart of this conflict, this large issue, right, is how much power do governments really have over global corporations that are dominant in the media space. So there's this Elon Musk versus Brazil standoff kind of like echoes not only this battle, but other battles between states and tech giants. Yeah, whether it's like where I'm from, the like EU's regulations of Google, for example, the EU, countries in the EU, especially Germany, sue Google all the time, mostly over privacy issues. Copyrights are mostly privacy issues, right? Or India's clashes with X over content moderation, or India banning TikTok, for example, right? So these companies wield like an enormous power over the public discourse of nations, and also often act outside of local frameworks, or local legal frameworks, because of course legal frameworks are different from country to country, while those tech outlets, networks, sites still operate in the same way they operate in their origin country, for example. So in Brazil's case, a Musk response, threatening to seize Brazil's assets, for example, shows like the growing confidence of tech leaders to challenge state power directly, which is kind of cool, kind of scary. So that to me also raises the question of accountability. In this case, should one man in charge of a private company be able to dictate the information ecosystem of an entire country? Again, I think it's kind of funny, interesting that it's like we have this standoff, like, wow, like look at Elon Musk and X and standing up to Brazil. But should he be able to do that? can global platforms like X balance their international reach, right, with local laws and needs, maybe better? And while they probably could, the follow-up question would be, should they? Or should they try to bring democracy to other countries? You heard this before, right? It's a very intense and interesting question, in my opinion. And the truth, of course, lies somewhere in between, but let's be honest, who wants compromise? Nobody wants compromise. We want right or wrong. We want left or right. We want team A or team B. So what's it gonna be? I'm really curious to hear from you, like what your thoughts are on this whole thing with Elon Musk and Brazil and just the bigger picture in general. So let me wrap this up, because to be completely honest, and now that's where I add a bit of personal opinion, and that's where you either support or hate. To all my Rumble viewers, I apologize. But ever since Elon took over, and I used to be like, not a fan, but interested to see what Elon Musk is doing. Like, hey, that's a cool idea. Look at this, that's funny. But X has become a hellhole from my point of view. And I wasn't in the vocus of bubbles necessarily, I think. But right now, I mean, even just the way the feed works, it's just so much anger and insults and BS and clearly disinformation. I barely ever use it, to be honest, right now. So that was the 2 minutes of personal opinion. But let's wrap things up, right? So it's still a very interesting case from my point of view. So the Musk versus Brazil saga is incredibly fascinating. Because again, from a professor's point of view, is the case study for like all media scholars, media practitioners, media students, all of us. It's very, very interesting, right? Because it highlights the clash between global media platforms, X, All Things Matter, and so on, and state sovereignty, as well as tensions between free speech and responsible regulation. And the lines are always blurred here, right? Do we want responsible regulation? Yes. Do we want censorship? No. Do we want free speech? Yes. Do we want misinformation? No. Where's the line? And how do we make one thing happen and not the other? Right? So it's very, very, very difficult, a very interesting discussion that we've been having for a long time, and that probably will continue for an even longer time. So I think as we continue to navigate like all those issues, right? Media theories like what we discussed today, media imperialism, agenda setting, public sphere, hopefully help us to understand a few of those deeper dynamics that are at play when disputes like this happen, okay? So if you're interested in all those things, stay tuned for more. I try to scale it down a little less serious theories this time than last time, simply by trying not to overload everybody. But it's really hard because I'm, as you can see, really into all those things. I mean, media theories are everywhere, and I just want everybody to know it so that everybody can, like, critically think and be aware of what's happening in the media and why things are happening, and not be fooled by it. Because if you know what's happening and why it's happening, then you can make informed decision as to will you believe it, will you follow what you see, or will you not? And that's the main thing that we would like. We would like, by we I mean like media scholars, usually we would like you to be aware of what's happening, to be able to critically think, to look behind the facade, to know why things are being portrayed the way they are. And then you make your own informed decision, and then it's totally cool whether or not you agree with us or not. Like, you make your own decision. That's what we want. Be your own person, be your own decision maker, so to speak, based on the information that you're getting and that you thought about. Then it's all okay. Anyways, before I jump into like lecture mode, I'll cap it off here. So thanks again for being with me this time. I do want to know, are you Team Elon? Are you Team Brazil? Are you somewhere in the middle? Do you think both of them are annoying? Which, of course, would also be a fair sentiment, because let's be honest, Brazil is also not, it's not the country that should be talking all about democracy, because they also got lots to learn, but it's not a political podcast, so I'm not going down that road too much. But if you look at the history of like how presidents came into power and whatnot, and like how the parties roll right now, it's quite of a mess. So they're certainly not the ones that should be talking too much about like sitting on a high horse and being like all for democracy and so on. But of course, Elon Musk might also not be the right person to just tell everybody what to do. So let me know what you think. Elon, Brazil, some in the middle, both should just shut up and we all go to use Threads instead because it's really nice and quiet there. Let me know, shout out in the comments at FunnyPod on social media, funnypod@gmail.com. Like, share, subscribe, follow, leave a review because that helps the most. And until then, stay safe, take care, and we talk soon.